y'all, welcome and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Morgan, and here we do all things spooky, whether that be sharing stories, talking about scary books, scary movies, my own spooky encounters, Appalachian folklore. We do it all here. So if that sounds like a good time, I would love to have you. I do daily uploads, so you will get tired of me, for sure. Please check out the description below for where to send in your stories for me to read and for all of my social media links and podcast episode links. And without further ado, let's get into the stories. This happened when I was in high school, circa 2014 or so. My stepmom Tina, her mother Gail, had just passed. Tina became incredibly depressed and wasn't the same anymore. It was clear that her mother's death had affected her strongly. It's also worth noting that Gail and I were both witchy, while Tina was a skeptic, so I think Tina was upset that her mother hadn't visited her from beyond the grave. Well, one night I had this dream. It was so bizarre because it wasn't bizarre. Usually my dreams are fantastical and surreal, but this one just felt like it could have been real. There was no crazy themes or wacky characters, just Tina and I sat on the couch talking about our day and watching Law & Order SVU like we always did when we both got home. The only thing that was out of place was there was this ghostly visage, a humanoid shape, clear and pale blue in color, just out of the corner of my eye. Then when I turned my head to look, it vanished. Then I'd look back at Tina and it would appear in her peripheral again. It was very frustrating. Anyway, Tina was telling me that her son Jesse had a bare skin and he wanted to paint the pelt in memory of Gail. He didn't know what color to paint it, and then out of my mouth tumbled these exact words. Well, you should know her favorite color was black. And then my hands flew over my mouth to cover it, as if I couldn't believe what I had just said. And I couldn't. Those weren't my words. Something made me say those words. That wasn't my normal way of speaking, and I could never be that sassy. It was definitely Gail, though. So I woke up, went to school, went through the motions, and I ended up on the couch after school. Tina had just come home. We started talking, and I brought up the dream very hesitantly, but surprisingly, Tina actually laughed when I told her that last part. I laughed too, and she said, "It was." To which I, of course, replied, "It was what?" And she said in a tone that I can only describe as contempt, her favorite color was black. I swear to God, I did not know that information. It just came to me in that dream. And funnily enough, after that, Tina got so much better. I think she was relieved that her mother had visited me, and it's something Gail would do too. Years later, I would channel Gail and tell Tina, well, you wouldn't listen to me if I told you, so I'd have to get the grandbaby to do it. I really like this story because to me it's the only confirmation I have that there is something beyond this life and beyond what any of us can imagine. I still describe myself as very skeptical, but I do love the paranormal and supernatural, and I wish to have more experiences like this one in the future. That one was wholesome. Alright, next story. I live in Michigan. Not Michigan. The Michigan stories are always terrifying. I've heard and felt strange things in the woods, but this one was the worst. One day, I and a few friends are hanging out in the woods behind our neighborhood. I was carrying the Dollar Tree perfume. Note that's important. We went down to the stream and smashed some glass and then went to the stone wall. Suddenly, my friend got quite tense and said that she saw something. We looked but can't quite see, but there's sure enough a dog-like shape. We freak out, but we're too far away from the exit to walk out of there, so we have to stay. One friend watched this creature to make sure it didn't move, and I sprayed my perfume. The friend watching it said that it had moved back. So we covered ourselves in perfume. We lose it, and it's fine. So we go from the stone wall to the ground to leave, but then we see it again. We climbed up this huge fallen tree, which in some spots was over 12 feet in the air. We climbed until it was gone, and I accidentally left my perfume there, and I never saw it again. Oh gosh, that's eerie. Alright, next story. I have experiences with the paranormal and occult. I'm very sensitive to energies and have even practiced mediumship, so I know a good bit. The house I live in was once used by a Catholic church next door as a viewing house for funerals, so there are lots of energies around here, but they've never really been negative. I often cleanse the house every month just to make sure the bumps in the night aren't too much. The other day, I really messed up. I had COVID, and I was sick and foggy-headed, dreary, and I was in the shower. I heard a whistle, and not thinking anything of it, I thought it was just my husband in my sick brain. I call out, "Yeah? What do you want?" I know better. I really do, but my brain wasn't working in that moment. Of course, I got no answer, but you could feel the energy shift. Fast forward 3 days later, and I'm laying in bed around 1 a.m., and I start hearing scratching in the other room. I pushed it aside, but just thought, nah, the dog must have gotten out of their cage. So when I get up to check, everything in my being screamed, "Don't move." I used my foot to wake my husband up and sent him to check. When he opened his eyes, his first words were, "What's wrong, baby? You were yelling. Are you okay?" I explained to him that I thought the dogs were out, but upon him checking, the dogs were both sleeping and locked up tight. He came to lay back down, but the whole night I felt as though something was watching. Last night at work, it felt heavy all night. The air was stale, and my left shoulder stayed about 5 degrees colder than my right, almost unnaturally cold. I work in a hospital, so the air is never stale, it's always circulating. I even made my coworkers feel my shoulder in the hallway. I worked on to confirm what I was feeling. This morning, I came home from work at around 7 in the morning and parked. The laundry room window does not have a curtain, and that's where our dog's crates are. When I looked over into the window, I saw a full figure move from one side of the window to the other. It bothered me because it just felt wrong. I went inside and went to sleep and woke up to my husband telling me how cold the house was last night. He said it was almost 50 inside, but the heat was on. I checked the air system and it's working. It's working properly. I don't think this has reached its peak yet. I cleanse and I use black salt and I have selenite. I don't know what else to do. Please help. So it sounds to me like you might have an attachment, which is a little bit more than cleansings to get rid of. It requires a banishment. So I would try that if you're keeping up with cleansings and it's not helping because something has latched. All right, next story. I have 2 photos from 2014 that I took from my old Samsung Galaxy S3. The only alteration to this photo is the zoomed in copy with the red circle around its face. The pictures were taken from my Reddit post made to Reddit More Stories, as they no longer reside in my Google Photos. I really hope you can use them, and if not, oh well. The house that I grew up in was haunted. I don't mean movie style haunted. I mean footsteps were heard in the attic that didn't have floorboards through 3/4 of it. Doors were opened and closed at randoms per its desires. Things were moved around the house or embedded into the walls inches from our face. If we pissed it off, Mom learned that the hard way when it tried to send a pin through her nose for not believing it was actually there. Some of us were even unlucky enough to actually see the creepy looking thing. Now I need to explain something real quick. Our house was haunted by 2 separate entities. One outside the house, the one I caught on camera, and one inside. The one on the inside of the house is fairly friendly, even going so far as to stopping whatever it's doing if you acknowledge it and politely ask it to. We call him George. He's followed our family around for years from house to house. The one outside, however, was an asshole. If you were caught outside around nightfall and you didn't live in our house, it would try to follow you home too. It banged on windows, threw things at walls, and our cats, our poor cats, they didn't even want to go outside at night. If they got locked out, they would howl their little lungs out at one of our windows or hide until dawn and stay under Mom's bed all day. Even worse was the china cabinet by the table. The way it was placed was so that while we were eating dinner, Dad could have a clear view through the window outside to the front door at all times, ex-military thing. And through the hutch, he could see the window outside to the door from the couch in the living room. Well, the entity would stand outside endlessly at night and stare at you through the glass doors of the hutch, using Dad's system against him. Our family was very heavy into the laws of the spiritual realm. You didn't screw with Ouija boards or paranormal games that you found on the internet in the house without suffering the wrath of our mother afterwards. Now, that doesn't mean we didn't go to Northern State Mental Hospital to go ghost hunting whenever we could. We just didn't do so willy-nilly and tried to be as respectful of the dead as possible. We always took precautions, but this one still got through. The day these pictures were taken, the outdoor entity had been unusually active. It was banging on the door in broad daylight. We checked out there and there was no one. We literally watched the door bounce and rattle even though no one was there. It had made Mom so nervous she actually went out and bought stuff to reinforce our threshold. Apparently it worked because after these I don't remember anything else happening with the outdoor entity. Or maybe my memory is just bad. Who knows? It was at dinner and our cat Lily was sitting in Mom's chair at the table, so I took a picture. That's it. That's the only reason I took that picture, to catch her strange behavior on camera because she's a weird cat. My little brother was being a dork and did a thumbs up behind her. And there, literally centimeters above his thumb, was the demon, face and all. I could even somewhat make out its hand on the door frame, but that's super creepy. But what's super creepy was that it looked just like a jester to me, and the terrifying grin doesn't help either. Did you guys see that picture? Oh my god. No, I am good. Alright, next story. So I used to live in a really old house, like over 100 years old. This house was weird. In order to understand this, you have to have the layout of the house. So you walk in the house and you're in the living room. On the right is a staircase. It would go up for about 20 steps and then there was a landing. The landing would curve so you could see the upstairs. And then you would walk around 15 steps to your upstairs. Right when you get up there was the bathroom. Through the bathroom was an extra room. That was my aunt's. Right next to the bathroom was my brother and sister's and my room. Right across from our room was my mom's. So this story happened when I was around 6. This is another one of my mom's stories. My mom had just put my siblings and I down for a nap and she said about half an hour after she'd heard footsteps upstairs, but they sounded like children's footsteps. She said she thought we had woken up, so she went upstairs to check, but we were all asleep. So she went back downstairs. Around 20 minutes later, she hears these footsteps again, but they're running around. So again, she thought it was my siblings and I, so she creeped upstairs to catch us. But being again that we were all sleeping, she went back downstairs. Not even 5 minutes later, she heard these footsteps again, but they ran down the stairs, and she said she saw a shadow on the wall. She said that freaked her out because she knew it wasn't a child because those footsteps got heavier when they came down the stairs. Another one about this house was the basement was very creepy. There was only one light and it was a very big basement. My older cousin never let anyone go downstairs alone. Well, I had to go down there one day to get my ball that had rolled down, and I felt like I was being watched. It was so intense that I could feel it right behind me. I felt a really bad pain right in my lower back as I ran upstairs, and it hurt so bad. My mom said that when she looked, I had a deep scratch on my back. I never went back in that basement again. Another one from when I was a kid is my great grandma lived on a farm in North Dakota near Auberon. This house was around 60 years old, and my great grandma had lived in this house for a while. There was always this one room that nobody slept in because you would wake up with scratches or something would touch you or you would be feeling like you were being watched. So I went there as a kid, and my family and I stayed there for around a week. Every single time I would have a dream about this room, and I remember I would walk into the room and get the feeling of dread and just know that something was wrong. I saw a tall, shadowy figure in the corner of the room by my bed, and it scared me when I was waking up in cold sweats. I was telling my mom about it in the morning, about these dreams that I was having and about the room, and my mom told me that she was having the same dream. My older cousin also said that he was having the same dream. All three of us had the exact same dream every night. The dream stopped when we left, and I've never went back. I think something in that house didn't like us being there. Another thing about this 100-year-old house is that I think something is following me from the house. I remember seeing it when I was 5, and I see it everywhere now. It's big, tall, and black. Whenever it shows up, I never get an uneasy feeling. It's never tried to hurt me. It's always just there, and I never get scared when I see it. It's kind of like a comforting feeling when I see it. It's been around for the longest time, and if I spend the night at someone's house, it always shows up without fail. Again, I have never felt in danger by it, and I know when it's around because I can feel it. Well, I just moved into a friend's house, and she's experienced running footsteps in her hallway and has heard things fall when nothing has been moved or touched. I've heard and felt things in the house, and I've heard the footsteps in the hallway, seen shadows on the walls, and my phone camera has stopped focusing when I have to take a video, ringing in my ears, and the fan moving by itself. A lot of weird stuff has happened, but throughout this whole time, this thing that follows me has never shown itself once in her house. I have not felt it around me or in the house at all. I just saw it the other day in my other friend's house when I stayed the night, but never in the friend's house, so I know it's still following me, but there's also this feeling that I get. I'll be sitting down doing something on my phone when I feel a weight on my chest, like it's getting harder to breathe. I get random emotions of getting really angry or sad, but no one else in the house is feeling that way. My friend also has an Alexa in her kitchen, and I'll be home by myself, and her Alexa will start playing music all by itself so loud. It's so creepy, but we don't know if it's negative or good because it's never come up to us physically in any way. Update. We've now done an investigation in the house, and it seems like whatever is here is not friendly anymore. We have an EMF reader, and it was going off by one of my friends and I the whole time, yet nothing with our other friend who was there. We caught multiple orbs on camera, and this all happened in our back room. We left a stuffed animal in that room in the middle and told it to move it. When we came back 3 days in a row, we couldn't find it at all. We looked for the room and found it in the corner of the room hidden behind some stuff. We don't think it's friendly because stuff now goes missing. We're constantly feeling watched. My friend and I will wake up with scratches all over us. Our cat's terrified of the back room. I get weird emotions, and I know are not mine or any of my friends. Even people don't live here and still get the same feelings. We've saged the house, every single room, and stuff still happens. What else can we do? So I say this a lot. I know you guys get tired of hearing it. Sage actually tends to make things a lot worse. So I don't recommend using it. I would use dragon's blood incense instead, or like a lavender rosemary herb bundle if you want to do that. But sometimes that makes things worse. It sounds to me like the thing that follows you is literally a guardian, but something so bad in that house that it's not able to get past it. So you may have to do a full banishment on that house because something is really bad in there. But starting off with cleansing with the right things will really help, I think. But anyways, with that being said, that is all for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you tomorrow.